One of my favorite business mentors and one that I had the chance to learn from in person is Tony Robbins. And he taught me that one of the best things you can do for your business is to always reevaluate where you're at. Take a look at what your performance has been, which way are things trending so that you can make the changes accordingly. And as 2023 approaches, we want to ask ourselves the question of, is it time to quit Turo? Is it time to get started on Turo? Or is it time to grow, expand, or contract? Now, this question was also brought up by one of my community members at powerhost.club, and I thought it was fantastic. And what better time to go over it than now? So we're gonna break down exactly the different positions that you might find yourself in. That should mean that it's probably time for you to exit the business and quit. Or maybe you find yourself in a separate set of circumstances that might mean that, hey, you know what? It's time to either start or to expand your business, and we're gonna break each one of those down. Now, before we jump into it, I would so appreciate your guys' support if you hit that subscribe button. Okay, there is this amazing thing called sunk cost fallacy, and unfortunately, a lot of people fall victim to it, and it's just because of the psychology of the human brain. Sunk cost fallacy is when you put a lot of time, money, or effort into something, but it isn't yielding you the results that you want, and you might be taking losses on it, but you keep doing it because it's like, okay, I just put so much time into it, I've invested so much into it, and I just have to keep going, I have to keep going. And you should really get rid of that mindset. If you find yourself in a position to where you can no longer afford that car, or you're taking a lot of losses on it, then it might really be time to cut your losses and move on to something else. Look, at the end of the day, not every business is designed to suit every person. And oftentimes what happens is that people will get into Turo and they realize, hey, you know what? This is a lot of meticulous work. This requires more work than I thought. It's not as hands-off as I imagined it to be. Then next thing you know, time goes on, you have this car, you're not adjusting your listings as aggressively as you should have, you're not adjusting your prices, you're not making your listings dynamic, and so then your listings don't perform well on the market. As the seasons change, you begin to take losses and then you get stuck in that rut. If you find yourself in that position, whether it's a single car in your fleet or it's your entire business, then please don't let sunk cost fallacy get stuck in your head and stay in that position. You want to cut your losses and be free of that. Take the loss now versus 2-3 years down the line when your cars depreciate and you've sunk even more time into it and taken even more losses. It's better to change directions while you can and get yourself into something that does bring you joy and excitement. So that is a very, very important one. And touching on the smaller points within that, listen, Turo is one of those businesses that are super simple, but very meticulous. If you can learn kind of the different processes that Turo has, from checking in, checking out, taking those detailed photos to make sure that you are downsizing any risk, then it's great, right? If you can be that detail-oriented person that can follow processes, then you will typically find this business to be very easy. I'm of that personality type, so for me, this business is a breeze and I can do it day in and day out and it doesn't get boring to me. But there are different personality types as human beings, right? And for some people, being that detail-oriented over and over and over again and having that repetitive pattern can get boring, and you know what? You don't have the eye for it, you don't have the feel for it, and that's okay. And so you end up not enjoying the business, and that is another glaring sign that you should definitely quit Turo in 2023, because we know Turo is very detail-oriented, and if you don't follow that practice consistently every single time there is a trip that's starting or ending, then you can find yourself in a lot of liability. And I see the comments, right? I know you guys post all the time. I read it in the forums. I read it in my own groups where people will, end up with a trip that came back, the car was damaged, and then they go and they try to claim for insurance and they get denied. And so they end up angry with Turo because it's like, hey, the renter is clearly at fault. Why won't you guys cover me? But then when Turo Turo goes back and looks at the check-in photos for that trip. Either the process wasn't followed for upload times, or you didn't get the specific photos that you needed to, you weren't as detail oriented as you should have been, then that claim doesn't get taken care of. And I think that really leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. And then you're angry at Turo, and then you're just you get the ick with the whole business. And so if you find yourself in that position, you want to exit out, because there's just way too much financial liability if you can't follow the processes. So that leads to you then not enjoying the business. And why be in a business that you don't enjoy, right? You need that enjoyment. You need to enjoy the hosting experience on Turo, right? And that relates to even the type of cars that you have. If you're not enjoying the type of cars that you have, or you're not enjoying hosting in general, then as the days go on and trips accumulate, you're not going to do a good job, which eventually is going to lead to diminishing returns, right? You're not going to make as much money. People aren't going to have good experiences. It's going to lead to bad reviews. It's going to lead to excessive wear and tear on your cars. People aren't going to take care of them, and it's just going to put you in a bad situation. So it's okay if that's the position that you find yourself in. This business is not for everyone. So maybe there is a better opportunity waiting around the corner for you, somewhere else where you could potentially make more money. And if that is you, then it's always best to cut those losses, realize that, hey, you know what? I gave this my full effort. This isn't for me. So I need to take that exit and move on to something else. There's literally nothing wrong with that, but you do need to really learn the details of the business in order to do it well and to enjoy that hosting experience. Those are all the things that really set you up for success. And if you want to really learn about those minute details, you can obviously watch this YouTube channel, and you can also check out my website, powerhost.club, where I will walk you through the entire business in every little detail so you never make a misstep. And now my favorite part, whether or not you should start and continue to grow your business. So now if you are headed into 2023 and you've been thinking about, oh gosh, I need to find more ways to make money, I want to take on a side hustle, I have the time, I have the flexibility to do so, then starting Turo is a great idea, especially if you already have a car at home. Now, there are so many people who are still working remotely from home. Even if you're working remotely part-time, you have this car that you used to use for commuting, but you don't utilize it as often as you used to. And it's actually turned more into a cost center for you than a productive unit that you used to utilize to get to and from work. Now you can take that and kind of take on that side hustle, rent it out. Even if you rent it out part-time, maybe it's to offset your insurance, maybe it's to offset your car payment, or maybe it's to make just a little bit of extra money that can go a long way for you and to maybe make up for some inflation costs, right? So I think starting Turo as a side hustle is just a fantastic idea till this day. Till this day, I love the business. I myself in 2023, in the first half of it, I have 2 cars lined up that I'm finally going to get my hands on and get listed on the platform, and I'm super excited about it. So if you think that this type of business is the right fit for you and it's something that you'll really enjoy, then it's definitely a good time to start and list that car that you might already have. Now, another reason why you should list a car on Turo, if you're thinking about it, is we are arguably already in a recession, and we're really going to feel the effects of it in 2023. So if you have, income streams that can be heavily affected by a recession, and you're looking to maybe diversify, maybe have some more cash flow coming in, then it's also a really good idea to list your car on Turo. Not only that, but with a recession comes really good deals, right? Everything does go on sale, and it's a good time to get into cars at a good price. Now, we know that car prices have been falling, and they're going to continue to fall into next year. So while you take the time to sort of educate yourself, to learn about the platform, and to see if it's a good fit for you, the time will be just perfect for you to execute on it and get into a car at a good deal, help you bring in some more cash flow to kind of combat any recessionary impacts that we might feel as, consumers and everyday people, inflation on the rise, cost of goods and services going up. This can offset a lot of that. Now, another thing is what I see a lot of people doing, and I'm going to do this for my personal car next year as well, which is going to be a Tesla, is if you just love cars, but you don't like the idea of having to make a car payment or pay for the expenses, and it's a car that you just want to utilize sometime. Like for me, I work from home. I want to just use my cars, the few times that I go out, but why take on the burden and expense and financial responsibility of having a full-time car payment, it, right? So for me, I would even list my personal cars just so I can enjoy the car that I absolutely love, but really pay nothing out of pocket for it. So for my personal car, I'd want to list it and just pretty much make the car payment on it and then enjoy the rest of it for myself while not having to take on the burden of that expense. So if you find yourself in that position where you're passionate about cars, maybe there's a car that you've always had your eye on, but you don't really want to spend money on it, not your hard-earned money, then you can definitely offset that by listing it on Turo, making up for how much ever it is that you want to put towards expenses, and then comfortably enjoy that vehicle at little to almost no cost to you. So I think that's a really good plan as well. And finally, if you're already a Turo host, so let's say you've been hosting for a while and you've had a good experience on the platform, you got into the cars at the right price, you've been really good about managing your listings, keeping your prices dynamic, hopefully you're in a great market that has been consistently performing, and now you're thinking about expanding. So what is the move to make in 2023? I think you can definitely get into more cars. Now, you might want to check out this video that I just made a couple of days ago on how to get the best deals in 2023 on cars. This is going to kind of walk you through, okay, we know that prices are coming down because of the recession, but how do we get into just the best possible deal? The one where you feel like when you walk away, like you stole that car because it was such a good deal. So that would be my number one recommendation for any host out there that's looking to really grow and expand their fleets. And I know for me personally, the cars that I'm going to be getting into, I'm going to make sure that they are a steal of a deal, because remember, that's where our margins come from. Now, to really understand whether or not you should get that second, third, fourth, or fifth car, well, that data is going to come from your existing performance on the platform. Now, I really think, whatever patterns and trends that you've seen in the summer and winter of 2022, we will likely see similar patterns trend into 2023. Because the recessionary impacts kind of started setting in mid this year and interest rates started going up, demand has slowed down. If you have found the business sustainable and profitable through summer and winter of 2022, then you will likely see similar trends going into 2023. And maybe even better, because the one thing we do have working for us is that thankfully travel has really opened up since all the things that we experienced in the last couple of years, and people are traveling more and more for businesses as well, which really drives a lot of traffic over to Turo, and that's a really nice kind of sweet spot of renters and business coming in that we want to capitalize on. So the main thing is that if you're looking to grow and add that second car and you're asking yourself, how do I know if it's the right time to do so and that I can sustain it? Well, you really want to look at how business has been performing for you over the last few months. Do you have at least 90 days worth of data up to 6 months? Those are going to really draw you patterns as to how your business is doing. If you've been consistently profitable and you're doing well and you're consistently booked out, then it's a sign that, okay, you know what? The market that you're in can sustain your vehicles. You're happy with the money that you're making, and that means that you can potentially expand with, of course, doing all the right market research and buying at the same price. So this is kind of how I think about, if one should quit Turo in 2023 or if you should expand or get started in 2023. So these are things that you want to take a look at. And as I mentioned, you want to check out this video on how to buy the perfect car at the perfect deal that I just made, and you guys will find it really helpful.